advice, but the important thing is to, if you know one of your clients had something like that previously, or, has one of these situations, and you hear them say, well, now everything's 50-50. That's not the case. And I just want you guys to be aware of that. So when we're speaking to people, that we aren't giving false information. Because I think I've heard that many, many times that, well, it's a community property state, so now everything's divided 50-50, and that's just not always the case.
Okay. And we could talk through a couple of different scenarios with this.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So let's say that that one party acquired something prior to marriage. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we now established that that's not subject to this.
Correct.
And you wanted to put it in to be community property, then you would go through the process of adding the person to the deed?
To the deed. And so that's how you turn separate property into community property.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't automatically happen. You have to add that person to the deed. So a lot of times when we're pulling tax records, we see only one name listed. So that is a very good point there.
So let's talk about backing up just a little bit. There's a note and there's a deed. Okay. And one is an asset and one is a liability. Okay. So with the note, a note is the obligation to repay, and that would be considered the liability. So what you would want to do is limit your liabilities, and if possible, have one of the two parties in that situation sign on it. But if both parties sign, then they're both are equally liable going forward.
Correct.
Then there's the deed of trust. The deed of trust is the asset portion. You could have one person on the loan and two people on the deed of trust. And that would be how I would consider probably the best way to set it up, so that both people have the ownership, but only one of the two people have the responsibility to repay.
Right.
So that goes to a deeper situation. We'll discuss that one in the near future.
Yeah.
But let's just keep going through the stuff.
Well, and where it becomes difficult is they, talk about commingling the assets. So when it's really hard, when you don't keep them all separated and everything's jumbled together, it's hard to understand what's separate property, what's community property. So hopefully most people, like you said, if they've acquired property and get married later or divorced, everything is clearly defined and separated. Or you have, maybe there's
A will.
agreements in place, a will, or prenuptial agreements or postnuptial agreements, whatever it is, and that's the easiest way. So it's not just you have to prove. Everything has to be proven.
Nothing says love like a prenuptial.
Right.
All right. So if we're talking about that, you mentioned a word there, will. Okay. And that's kind of an important thing, because people need to do estate planning. Estate planning means that if somebody happens to pass away, that you have all the stuff lined up
Right.
for what's going on there.
Yeah. So that's a whole other thing that, doesn't automatically. So, for example, if one of us passed, right?
Okay.
Okay, we don't have to use
off.
us
Knock me off.
as an example.
That's fine.
But, does the 50% automatically go to the spouse? Well,
same thing. It depends.
It depends.
When the property was acquired.
When the property was acquired. If it was acquired prior, then that's not necessarily the case. It would go to, I think, parents, then siblings of that person, and then the spouse. So, I know Jody had a situation a couple of months ago where it was a mess. Unexpectedly, one of the husband passed, and they had little kids, and he was married before, so he had other children as well. So it was really complicated. So the simple solution is just always have a living will, and have things outlined of what you want, and plan for your estate, so that way there's not any major issues that can delay. In a closing, that could delay things for months, right? So plan ahead.
It is.
And make sure that you, as a real estate professional, whether you have a listing or, a buy, would be easier. But if you have a listing, you might want to know some of these things to avoid catastrophe down the road.
And when in doubt, there would be a great idea to consult the title company and consult
Yes.
the title work to see what's going on there. And then after that would be to consult like the family's estate attorney that's handling it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And, it is always a good idea to pull the title, to open title and get that information before you do list. I like to pull the title work and just know if we have any obstacles to overcome.
yeah, and in this particular situation as a real estate professional, it would be your job to be collaborative in whom you're working with, but not necessarily to be the person that is making proclamations, because
No,
this is
you've gotta
not
be careful and
probably
not
your
practice
area
law.
of subject, that you're the subject matter expert.
But to know enough to direct and point them, and be their guide, that's kind of what we are. We're tour guides.
Okay. To your right is a home.
To your
We'll be
right.
buying this one. I'll be earning a commission.
Is
All right.
that it?
We're good? Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds great. Quality tips for working with remote clients. Well, so as the world changes, we have clients that we sometimes have met, have never met, and
And it's hard. How do you build that connection, that strong connection that you typically get when you meet in person, right?
Yep.
You're having to do it
so
remotely.
let's go ahead. I ran across an article and it had some good ideas in it, and I was like, let's look at some of them and see how good these ideas really are.
Let's do.
And see if we can do that. So Umcar's going to pull that up, and we're going to take a look here. And they have 5 ways to build virtual relationships with clients that you've never once met. Kind of cool.
It's happened many times.
Yeah, never met them. And so things are changing, right? And let's just zoom through these here and pick these up and see what's going on here. So Umcar's scrolling down for us here.
Okay.
And to use the client's given choice of communication method.
Yeah.
Because people are different. So
Yeah.
talk about that one specifically, because
Well, it's funny that you think the younger generation likes text, right? But we have young clients right now that in their 20s and they prefer a phone call. They're like, I really don't understand this process of buying. There's a lot of information. Can you just explain it to me over the phone? Can we please talk over the phone? The text, I just don't like to read through text and something like this. And I like that. I like to explain things, and I think a lot of things get mixed up in translation via text and email. So,
all right, so you're talking about the phone.
Yeah.
I would like to ask a quick question, take a quick poll.
but you need to ask. You need to ask your client what is their preferred method. Like how do they want to communicate?
Very good. So this question has to do with the phone. So when you call a business, just any business, would you prefer to get a phone tree or a live person answering the phone?
Is this why we're
No, you brought it up.
discussing this article?
Yeah, so would you prefer a phone tree or a live person when you
This is-
call a regular business? Totally separate question. I'm just stepping aside here and asking
All right, this is a
for
poll,
myself.
I guess.
It's a poll. Umcar's going to put it up.
Okay.
And then we're going to keep moving on to communicate using their preferred method. Some people like
Okay.
Facebook. Some people like to communicate with you through WhatsApp. Some people like to use,
Yeah, I don't think you should communicate your real estate transaction through Facebook, but hey,
it says to use your preferred method.
okay. So that's number 1. Choose the
Don't they have like
client's
a private
preferred-
messaging?
Yeah, they do, but
Okay. So give your client a chance to get to know you first. And that does make a lot of sense. So what they're saying is to have a good online presence and to let them know who you are by being out there.
Yeah.
And realize what type of impression you're giving off to people.
maybe record a little video, I think, if you find yourself having more and more clients that are remote, virtual, meetings, then maybe you put together a little video about yourself and send that out ahead of time. And the more they hear you, the more they see you, the more they're going to connect.
Yep, and always keep your agent page up to date at acquistorealestate.com/your first name. And on that page, you could absolutely send that out, but they should get to know you, to see pictures of you, videos, past listings, a bio of you, and they can know who you are before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
Careful. Careful
Checklists are useful to clients to understand the real estate journey. Some people like checklists, being able to like.
I love checklists. Mike doesn't like checklists, so.
All right. So there's a different way to do it, right? It depends on the person, but a good checklist. So if you find yourself going through things with clients and, right, there's certain spots, maybe it's a good time for you to stop down and make a checklist. And once you do, maybe others would appreciate it as well. You know, maybe there's just some things that
you can only store
that
so
work
much
better.
in your brain.
Yeah.
So having something to look at to be able to say, okay, where are we in this process? Okay, I just delivered my earnest money. Now what do I need to do? You know, and just a little checklist of things.
Yeah,
like
if
that.
there's things and it would help people, then if we already don't have them and there's just a small process or step within it, that people
Stacy's
would
really
like.
good too. You know, once we have the client, we're in a transaction, that she sends out an email and kind of identifying timelines and things like that. But ahead of time, just so they know what to expect prior to that, is a good idea.
All right, so that's checklist. Clients already have a lot of virtual meetings. So if you have one, make it short and to the point. Okay.
Yes. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Who hates when they get on a virtual meeting and you're scheduled for an hour now all of a sudden, instead of it being
And
like
30
10
minutes of it is going through rules of what to do and what not to do during a Zoom.
Whoa, all right. That's not
Sorry.
good. That's not good at
Hit a
all.
button.
Yeah, apparently. And let's see the last one here. Right. Invest your time necessarily to cultivate authentic relationships.
You
So
need to
just be
connect,
a real
right?
person.
And find a common ground and be you and take the time, right? To get to know them and ask questions and, you know.
And that's where I think it's okay to tell a person, I'm currently busy with this, or I have, well, not to say you're busy, but this is what's going on in my world as well. And fully explain the things. They don't want to hear it, but that builds that type of relationship. Like, I have soccer practice at this time for the kids, and I can do this at this time. And you can help
However,
work around.
we have, you know, and I'm pretty, I say this a lot, is, you know, here's what we do. We want all of our clients to have our undivided attention. However, if there is an emergency or something comes up, we have a whole real estate family behind us that helps, and you won't ever have to worry about not reaching someone, or, you know,
Thanks for
the
cleaning up how I
service will
said that
not
one. That was
be
important.
sacrificed. So,
And with that, I think we're good.
yeah, okay.
That's a wrap for us. I was like, what did I say that for?
What? Oh.
Well, that's a wrap. We covered all of those. We covered 2 topics today: community property and working with remote clients, and a couple of unique tips that just kind of are good to
Just a
hit home
reminder.
on. Yeah. And I think it is important. Just take a look at your agent page today and see if you should upload some new photos, if
Yeah.
you should put some new stuff in. And if so, send them over to Anna and say
Yeah.
what you want, and
And
she'll
does it
get those in for
really,
you.
really relay who you are?
Right.
Does it convey to a person who has no idea who you are a little bit about you so they can connect?
That's the idea, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen.
All right, so hop on Zoom meeting with Shana, and we're gonna show me your listings.
All right, we'll get that started right now.
Okay.
Community property. Okay, and quality tips for remote working with clients. Thank you. All right, good luck, Shana.
Thank you so much.